Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about something of utmost importance, and that is around the route that some in Lebanon are trying to take us down, which is the normalization of ties with Israel. Um, as you know, over the last week, 10 days, it's really kicked off around direct negotiations between Lebanon and Israel, especially at state level. They met in Washington, the Lebanese ambassador, the Israeli ambassador, and Marco Rubio met in Washington. The president, Joseph Aoun, talked about the first of its kind, because obviously they're incredibly happy that they have been able to meet directly and have direct negotiations with the Israelis. And for the Israeli, these direct negotiations cover the two main things that they cover are firstly the weapons of the Lebanese resistance and ensuring that they're stripped away from the resistance, and secondly around creating a historic peace deal between the two countries. They then met, as we mentioned, in Washington. A statement came out from mainly Marco Rubio and the Israeli ambassador. To be honest, the Lebanese ambassador was maybe given an interview here or there, but I don't feel like they came out with a formal statement that explained what the meeting was about. Anyway, fast forward a few days later, and we started hearing about a ceasefire. Obviously, we were hearing about a ceasefire previous to that, but the idea was that they wanted to separate the fronts of the Iranian front and the Lebanese front, and make any potential ceasefire that happens in Lebanon not look like it was as a result of Iranian steadfastness, resistance, patience, diplomacy, all of that kind of stuff. They wanted to give it to Lebanon and the Lebanese government so that they can go down the route of normalization rather than tying it up with the Iranian file in Islamabad. We all know the truth. A couple of days later, Trump goes on Truth Social and announces that there's going to be a 10-day ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, this ceasefire, and this is where we really need to look, because there were some things that went under the radar, and this is something that needs to be clarified by the Lebanese government, because there are some things that the Lebanese government, with silence, you become an accomplice. So with silence, and if you don't respond to it, and people are putting words in your mouth and you don't deny it, then effectively you're agreeing to it. You're accepting that these words came out of that these words are words that represent your current position. And so if that is the case, then there are people within the Lebanese government that are currently traitors, accomplices in the blood of the Lebanese, taking us towards normalization with an entity that the Lebanese constitution identifies as a enemy. So these are things that currently we have to look at and get answers towards. So let me read. I'm going to read the U.S. Department of State the U.S. Department of State, so the foreign ministry in America, put out a statement after it was announced around the 10 days ceasefire. The Americans put out a statement, and we're going to go through this. And as I said, they're talking on behalf that Lebanon has agreed. Lebanon has not come out and disagreed. Lebanon has not come out and said these words do not represent the state, my stance, my position, my opinion, whatever, the constitution of my country. That Lebanon has not come out and done that. The president hasn't done it. The prime minister hasn't done it. None of the Lebanese government ministers have done it. The ambassador that met with the Israeli ambassador during that disgraceful meeting in Washington, they didn't do it. So in that case, you're all accomplices to this statement. So following productive direct talks, the American wants to highlight the fact that it was direct. Following productive direct talks on April 14th between the governments of the Republic of Lebanon and the State of Israel, brokered by the United States of America, but when Iran gives a single opinion about anything to do with the rights of the Lebanese people to resist, it's like, oh, you've got to get out of my country. They send the ambassador a person non grata, and you got to leave the country because they give an opinion on the sovereignty, the right to sovereignty for Lebanon. Anyway, brokered by the United States of America, Lebanon and Israel have reached an understanding in which both nations will work to create conditions conducive to lasting peace between the two countries. Full recognition of each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, and establishing genuine security along their shared border while preserving Israel's inherent right to self-defense. So look at here, because we're going to look through this statement and we're going to see that this diplomacy that the Lebanese government is always banging on about makes it out like the resistance in Lebanon is taking stupid decisions. How can you go down the route of armed self-defense? You should be going down the route of diplomacy. Leave it to the government. That's what they've been telling us since the government's inception. Leave it to the government. We're going to do things through diplomacy, blah, blah, blah. But this first paragraph, straight away, not just goes against the constitution of Lebanon by saying that you have to have full recognition of each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity, but the Lebanon as a republic does not, and as a constitution does not recognize the state of Israel. And neither has that constitution been changed. So who agreed to this statement? Who agreed to this statement? Because the Lebanese people didn't. And neither did any of the Lebanese government personnel come out and refuse this statement either. And establishing genuine security along their shared border while preserving Israel's inherent right to self-defense. Lebanon doesn't have a right to self-defense. Lebanon that has been getting bombed for the last 15 months. I'm not even going to talk about war. That's been being bombed for the last 15 months. People have been getting killed. And not just men from the Lebanese resistance. Also innocent women and children. Old people in their homes being killed in Lebanon. Homes being destroyed. Land being occupied. We still have prisoners in the Israeli dungeons. But we don't have a right to self-defense. Israel has the right to inherent right to self-defense. Okay. Both countries recognize the significant challenges faced by the Lebanese state from non-state armed groups. The Lebanese resistance, of course, they're talking about, which undermine Lebanon's sovereignty and threaten regional stability. Israel doesn't threaten regional stability. Israel carrying out a genocide in Gaza doesn't threaten regional stability. Israel carrying out a war against Iran doesn't threaten regional stability. Israel occupying the land of Lebanon and Syria, who the Jolani is begging for a peace deal with Israel. He's begging for it. Yet they've still occupied 450 kilometers of Syrian land. They don't threaten regional stability. Both countries understand that those groups' activities must be curtailed, such that the only forces authorized to bear arms in Lebanon will be the Lebanese Armed Forces, Internal Security Forces, Directorate of General Security, General Directorate of State Security, Lebanese Customs and Municipal Police, hereinafter Lebanon Security Forces. Israel and Lebanon affirm that the two countries are not at war. I mean, once again, I need to ask who has signed this statement off from a Lebanese perspective? Because as I mentioned, no one has refused it. No one has distanced themselves from it. No one has said that this does not represent us. So through silence, you become firstly, you become an accomplice, and secondly, you're agreeing to the statement. This represents what you spoke about, what you believe in, what you've agreed with the Americans, and your idea of the way forward. So Israel and Lebanon affirm that the two countries are not at war. How can that be? Currently, just a couple of days ago, Israel killed 400 people in Beirut. A couple of days later, Israel went and bombed a state building that is related to the said Lebanese security forces and killed 12 members. So how can Lebanon and Israel not be at war? Israel and Lebanon affirm that the two countries are not at war and commit to engaging in good faith direct negotiations facilitated by the United States with the objective of achieving a comprehensive agreement that ensures lasting security, stability, and peace between the two countries. We've already spoken about the peace deals and the agreement. To that end, now we need to focus on these points. To that end, the United States understands the following. 1. Israel and Lebanon will implement a cessation of hostilities beginning on April the 16th, 2026 for an initial period of 10 days as a gesture of goodwill by the government of Israel. So if you're talking about a cessation of hostilities, then how can you affirm that the two countries are not at war? Firstly, so are America and Iran not at war at the moment? They're at war. Okay, there's a cessation of hostilities for 2 weeks, but they're at war. So here, you're saying that Israel and Lebanon will implement a cessation of hostilities for an initial period of 10 days as a gesture of goodwill from the government of Israel, intended to enable good faith negotiations towards a permanent security and peace agreement between Lebanon and Israel. Obviously, the whole idea here is to separate the fronts, to make it look like the reason that they've ceased hostilities is because of goodwill from Israel, and not because the Iranians put pressure in Islamabad and on the table with the Americans to stop the war in Lebanon, or to create a ceasefire in Lebanon in tandem with the ceasefire in Iran, because that was part of the ceasefire agreement. They don't want to give that achievement to Iran, so they make it out like it was a good faith or a gesture of goodwill by the Israeli government, even though the Lebanese government has been asking for direct negotiations for almost 2 years now, since its inception, 15 months. And there was never a response by the Israelis. In fact, they kept them bombing even more. 2. This initial period may be extended by mutual agreement between Lebanon and Israel if progress is demonstrated in negotiations, and as Lebanon effectively demonstrates its ability to assert its sovereignty. So here, straight away again, they're holding Lebanon responsibility for any war that is waged against Lebanon, as long in the negotiation, and as Lebanon effectively demonstrates its ability to assert its sovereignty. They mean two things by this. Firstly, it's Lebanon's fault for any restart of the war, because they can just turn around and say you weren't able to. And secondly, that statement there, Lebanon effectively demonstrates its ability to assert sovereignty, is straight away putting the Lebanese state in direct conflict with the Lebanese resistance. Somebody come out from the Lebanese government and refuse this statement. Somebody come out and refuse the idea that Lebanon has to effectively demonstrate this concept, and if they don't, then Israel is allowed to go to war, because that's justifying Israel's war on Lebanon. 3. Israel shall preserve its right to take all necessary measures in self-defense at any time against planned, imminent, or ongoing attacks. This shall not be impeded by the cessation of hostilities. So they're giving Israel the right to be able to bomb, to destroy, to kill, even during a ceasefire. And the Lebanese government have not refused this, have not refuted this, have not have not rejected this. Besides this, it will not carry out any offensive military operations against Lebanese targets, including civilian, military, and other state targets in the territory of Lebanon by land, air, and sea. I mean, that's literally the most pointless part of that whole paragraph, because before that, they've given Israel the right to be able to take out any necessary measures in self-defense. And we know that Israel will carry out any attacks of terrorism against any state that it sees fit under the guise of self-defense. And in fact, the Lebanese government, when they bombed Beirut, Nawaf Salam, the prime minister of Lebanon, said behind closed doors. So it's not like he was on the microphone and he wanted to make his masters in Lebanon, in Washington, happy. No, he was behind closed doors. He was literally speaking to ministers behind closed doors. And he said to one of the Shia ministers, or the representatives of the Lebanese resistance, he said to them that Israel does not attack any place without a reason. So he's justifying the bombings of Beirut when they killed 400 people and 120 of them were children. Your prime minister came out and said Israel does not attack anyone without justification. So when they say that Israel shall preserve its right to all necessary measures in self-defense, it's because that statement is backed up by the statements of the Lebanese government. The foreign minister has said the same. The president has said the same. The prime minister has said the same. And then afterwards they come out and say to you, no, this is not what we mean. Don't call us traitors. Don't call us this. We don't side with Israel, this and that. Okay, well then come out and deny this statement then. This statement that was put out by the United States. That's not getting involved in Lebanese affairs, no? You don't call up the American ambassador in Lebanon for America getting involved in Lebanese affairs with this statement. 4. From April 16th, 2026 forward, with international support, the government of Lebanon will take meaningful steps to prevent Hezbollah and all other rogue non-state armed groups in the territory of Lebanon from carrying out attacks, operations, or hostile activities against Israeli targets. Now, Lebanon not just is Israel under the constitution and under the Republic of Lebanon an enemy to the state. And dealing with it goes against the laws, and you can be tried and brought to justice for it. Not just that, but Lebanon is also currently in war. Lebanon is currently occupied. Lebanon currently has kidnapped people in the dungeons of Israeli prisons. Lebanon every single day has people being killed by the Israeli occupation entity. What does this mean? The government of Lebanon will take meaningful steps to prevent Hezbollah. What does that mean? So the Lebanese government is expected to stand against Hezbollah and against all the Lebanese rogue non-state armed groups in the territory of Lebanon from carrying out any attacks against Israel. But there is absolutely no expectation whatsoever of Israel, who's been bombing Lebanon for the last 24 months non-stop, killing, genocide in Lebanon, and this in the same way that they did in Gaza. There is no expectation on them stopping, as explained in number 3, where they have the right to self-defense at any specific time that they see fit. So who has agreed to these points? Anybody that agrees to this point is a amil, is a traitor. It's as simple as that. Whoever it is. I don't know who agreed to these steps. I don't know who worked with the Americans and who the Americans showed this to and they signed it off. But whoever it is, it can be anybody. Whoever it is that signed off on these points that the Americans have put out as a statement for the ceasefire in Lebanon is a traitor and should be tried against Lebanese law. This is what these points say. They are dealing with an enemy dealing with an entity that is an enemy of the state. They are working against civil. They are working for civil unrest. They are looking towards to create fitna in the country. They are looking towards sectarianism and to create divisions within the country. They are looking to accept occupation and death and destruction. They are justifying the killing of Lebanese people. This is what this statement does. And everyone knows it, including the Lebanese government, who went to Washington to conspire against the Lebanese people and the Lebanese resistance. No other reason that they were in Washington. Number 5, all parties recognize Lebanon's security forces as having exclusive responsibility for Lebanon's sovereignty and national defense. No other country or group has claimed to be the guarantor of Lebanon's sovereignty. There's two things here. Firstly, the Americans are utilizing an airbase in Lebanon exclusively for their terrorism within the region. The Hammam airbase in Lebanon, the Hameimin, airbase in Lebanon, is used exclusively by the American army to carry out terrorism within the region. Where is the Lebanese government there? You're saying to me, no other country or group has claimed to be the guarantor of Lebanon's sovereignty. Yet you're giving air bases to other countries to utilize. Here, obviously, I understand that they're trying to make Lebanon, they're trying to make, this is aimed at the Iranians, and no other country, obviously they mean Iran, and no other group, they mean the Lebanese resistance, has claimed to be the guarantor of Lebanon's sovereignty. But the only thing that this particular Lebanese government has shown over the last 15 months is nothing but cowardice, traitorism, the selling of their country, lack of independence, lack of decision making. They're literally a government that is created by external forces to be able to create agendas and determine agendas, or create plots within Lebanon from within to create internal issues. So when you say exclusive responsibility for Lebanon's sovereignty, but the first thing that the Lebanese army did when Israel started entering into the Lebanese territory, by orders from the president, was to withdraw. Six, Israel and Lebanon request that the United States facilitate further direct negotiations between the two countries with the objective of resolving all remaining issues, including demarcation of the international land boundary, and with a view to concluding a comprehensive agreement that ensures lasting security, stability, and peace between the two countries. The United States understands that above commitments will be accepted by Israel and Lebanon concurrently with this announcement. So here, the United States understands that the above commitments will be accepted by Israel and Lebanon concurrently with this announcement. These commitments are designed to create the conditions necessary for good faith negotiations toward enduring peace and security. So here, the United States has categorically mentioned in its statement, which can be read online, which can be read by every single Lebanese citizen, which can be read by every single minister in the Lebanese government, which can be read by the prime minister and the president, and it can be read by everyone, that these commitments will be accepted by Israel and Lebanon with this announcement. So here, if you do not accept, which you should not be accepting, the Lebanese government is responsible for coming out with a statement to highlight that they do not accept. And if you do accept, which they haven't done, by the way, just to clarify, and if you do accept, then you have committed treason, you are a traitor, you are working against the Lebanese people, you are an accomplice in the murder of the Lebanese people, and you are not somebody that is fit to run this country. It is as simple as that. Because the points here in this statement, as part of the ceasefire agreement that was released by the US Department of State on the 16th of April, is a statement that only facilitates the occupation of Lebanon. It's as simple as that. It only facilitates the continual killing of Lebanese people. And therefore, it is a responsibility of any respectable government that cares about the sovereignty and the independence of its state, and it cares about the safety of its people, and it respects the land of its people, to come out and reject these points, considering, by the way, that Israel is still, until this day, and will remain forevermore, an enemy of the Lebanese state and not not an enemy solely of the people of south of Lebanon. Israel is an enemy, a classified categorical enemy of the Lebanese state, the Lebanese Republic, the Republic of Lebanon. Israel is an enemy for the Republic of Lebanon, as determined by its constitution. And that has not changed until this day. It has not changed. So anybody that has agreed to this statement, and as I mentioned, silence is agreement in this case, because the statement categorically says at the end that the Lebanese state accepts and shows a commitment towards these points. So under this framework, these 6 points that the US has really delightfully, categorically, and very with detail explained to me, you, to all the Lebanese citizens, whoever has agreed to this statement is a traitor and has performed treason against the Lebanese people and the Lebanese state, against the Lebanese government. Whoever it is. And like I said, I don't know who it is. It could be the ambassador that had a meeting in Washington the other day. It could be the president. It could be the prime minister. It could be anybody. The point is that there is a statement out, and there is a responsibility on the Lebanese government to come out and deny it, or distance itself from it, reject it completely, because this is a statement that really digs deep into the essence of what is currently going on at the moment between the Zionist entity and Lebanon. Really digs deep into what we see the future of Lebanon and what people behind closed doors are conspiring to create on the ground. This creates a massive problem for the future of Lebanon and the existence of Lebanon as an entity as we know it at today, with its 10,500 kilometers squared borders and the 4 million population and things like that. This statement puts all of that at risk. So you can either, as I mentioned, distance yourself from it and reject it totally, and highlight a way that you're going to genuinely liberate this country and refuse anything called direct negotiations, because as we've seen, that brings you nothing, because that statement here, these 6 points are as a result of your direct negotiations, and I see nothing but surrender from all of these points. I don't think that you've negotiated anything but surrender. So you either reject it, and you reject the idea of surrendering, because the Lebanese people reject surrendering, as you know, as you can be seen on the ground, and you're going against everything that the Lebanese people are currently showing. But they're currently showing, they're not showing this. They're not showing this. On the ground, it's not this. So you're going totally against the grain. So you can do that, or you can stay silent, as you have, and as you will, I know you will, and you can show to all of the Lebanese people the treason, the traitorism, the fakeness, the disgust, the disgrace, the shame that you're performing by handing Lebanon over to the Americans and the Israelis in this manner, by handing over the blood of the Lebanese people in this manner. And not just that, you're doing all of this and your plots are going to fail anyway. Your plots are going to fail. Because at the end of the day, the ground speaks for itself, and the ground will speak for itself. And the ground will write, as I mentioned the other day, the blood of the martyrs, the wounds of the injured, and the pain of the orphans that you don't care about, that you have conspired in spilling and in creating. They're the people that will end up writing the future of Lebanon. And the actions that you're currently taking won't be forgotten and they will be remembered, and people will end up acting on it, because it's a super sensitive moment in Lebanon's history. It's a super sensitive moment in the region's history, in fact. And you're taking a position that goes against everything that the Lebanese people are currently doing on the ground. So as I mentioned, I don't expect the Lebanese government to come out and distance themselves or reject anything or deny anything, or because they do as their masters in Washington tell them to do, and it seems their masters in Tel Aviv tells them to do. So at the moment, there's obviously a big battle going on, and these kind of issues are annoying, but they're not the main focus. But when history is written by the blood of the martyrs, then لكل حادث حدث. Thanks for listening, guys. Peace.